Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to RobMotive. We've got the hood up, so it's time to do something. A new mod for the Toyota Tacoma. Today, I'm going to be installing my customized air intake. It's not a cold air intake because it's not a sealed box, but it's an intake nonetheless. Now, when I say customized, there's one thing that I did that if you watch the previous videos, you already know about. But there's another I may have to do because of the hood strut over here on the passenger side. We'll see once I get to that point. But what I'm talking about is the Rough Country, which is really a rebranded K&N intake. And what I've done is I've painted the pipe, the tube, to match the truck, or at least relatively close. I mean, it's not absolutely perfect, but it matches the wheels. It's the same paint. Came out really, really well. I'm hoping I don't damage it putting it on. We'll find out. And then I may have to modify the box that it sits in or the partial box because in the past I've had trouble with cold air intakes being impeded by the hood strut over here. I don't know if that's going to be the case with this one. I'm hoping not. We'll find out. But first things first, we have to go ahead and rip the existing one off. I'm going to do that. It's going to be a high speed. I've done it a few times before, so I'm not going to dwell on that. Basically, pull the engine cover, disconnect the MAF sensor, remove a vacuum hose underneath, loosen the clamps, pull the top off, take the filter out. There's a couple of bolts inside the bucket, if you will, of this cold air intake, the stock cold air intake, and then just pull it out. That's it. So let's do that first, then we'll get on the new one. Okay, I've got the original out, as you can see. One thing I do want to mention, I always disconnect the battery. That's just to turn everything off so that when I plug the MAF sensor back in, hopefully it initializes, there's no issues. Now, down here in the bay, I've already gone ahead and put these little round grommets in. There's one here, and then one down under here with a bracket on it. That is so that you can sit the cover inside. And this is where I will figure out if I have a problem. And I do have a problem. You can see right here, the strut can't clear this corner when I put the hood down, right? I mean, it's going to be in the way. So I'm going to have to trim this area. And I've done this before, so it's not a big deal. Just use a saber saw or a jigsaw with a metal blade in it. Pretty easy. So I'm going to come up with my line here. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. Okay, there you can see the cut. I'm going to file it a little bit just to round it off, and then I'll paint the edge real quick. And it's going to be covered actually with some seal, so you're never going to know that I cut that. It'll look like it came that way. Real quick, you can see the cut. I haven't put the trim on it yet, but right there is the strut, and that's the edge that I cut right there. So there should be plenty of room for it. Now, I could have even rounded it a little bit more there if I wanted, but I think it's going to be okay. All right, time to put the rubber on. It just pushes on. It's pretty simple to do. It's kind of like putting door trim on your car. Making the turns is probably the hardest part of this, but shouldn't be that difficult. And then whatever length you have left at the end, just cut it off. There you have it. You'd never know I made a cut. Okay, let's catch you guys up on the progress a little bit. I have the flange installed in the side of the air box. Just goes in with a couple of screws. Next up is to go ahead and bolt this down inside to the little nubs we put in. One there, and then one there that'll be fun to get to. You have to put a nut on the other side of that. That should be interesting. And then we'll have the box installed. Okay, we've got the box mounted in place. The 3 screws you can see down there. A word of caution, do not over tighten these. Those little nib things down there, those rubber grommets, if you turn too hard, the glue that holds the threaded metal part into the rubber will break free, and then the whole thing will not be held in. So you do not want to over tighten these. Just a touch more than hand tightening is all you need to do. All right, next up was to go ahead and put the MAF sensor in, as well as the barb for the vacuum line. That's done. Now we just need to clamp on some tubing. Okay, there it is. It is done. I love it. It came out really well, and I didn't even damage the tube, fortunately, because that had been a drag, in putting it on. It stayed just like it was. Everything was awesome. I love the look of it. It matches the truck almost perfectly. On camera, I think it's going to look like it's perfect. It might be a shade darker, but it's also under the hood, so I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I love the look of it. A couple of things I will mention about the install, which I already did a little bit. One was that grommet. You know, I had one of the grommets where I was trying to push on the box, and the threaded metal part came out of the rubber. That means that the whole box was just moving then. That's not acceptable. So I had to pull it out. I actually glued it, and then I did not tighten it. And I gotta stress, do not over tighten it. Just hand tighten, and then maybe just a touch, and that's it. You don't want to crank on that thing, because you'll do the same thing that I did, and you'll make the project about 30 minutes longer, which is about what it did for me. Fitting everything else on was just fine. A couple of tips: do not fasten the flange in for the air filter. Leave it out. Go ahead and get your tube on the throttle body, and then to the hole where it's going to connect up to the filter flange, because you don't have enough room. You'll find it's tight, it'll drive you insane. It's so much easier, and it's easily accessible if you just leave the screws out on each side that hold the flange in, and then put it in after you get the tube mounted where it's supposed to be on the throttle body. Trust me, it will save you a ton of frustration and time. Otherwise, works great. The hood struts are fine, or the one over here. It's close, but I cut it close. No issues with it at all. I love it. Next thing I'll do is probably do something with the lettering on the engine cover itself. I just think that'll kind of tie everything together. One other thing I'm going to look for, just for kicks, is a green air filter. If you look, of course, the one that came with it down here is red. I would love to have that be green to match, or some shade of green. Really, it could even be black. I don't know, but red, I guess there's red otherwise under the hood. Maybe that's kind of a homage to the TRD, because it is a TRD off-road. Maybe I'll just leave it, who knows. Anyway, that's it, that's the install. If you're looking for a more detailed, complete install, check the channel. I have a more step-by-step on the channel. I didn't do that this time because I've done it before. Kind of wanted to show you the important parts, and then the after, of course. Leave a comment, let me know what you think. I'd be curious to know. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. Mod Driven, all about the Honda Civic, and RobMotive JT, all about the Jeep Gladiator. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? And while you're at it, smash the subscribe button here too. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.